Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Sauce. Looking like a break-even day for us, I guess. It's tough to calculate right now. I'm assuming the Mariners, there's still some games going on. I'm assuming the Mariners are going to lose. Hopefully the A's cover plus 2.5. If you add in that Twins win we had earlier in the day, it's going to be really close to even. I'll put the final results on the screen. But anyway, in this video, we're talking Thursday baseball. I believe 10 or 11 games, and I'm going through all of them. Actually, I only skipped one. So let's get into it.
Welcome to the Sauce. The Sauce. Sauce. Hey, get the sauce.
Blue Jays at Orioles. Kikuchi pitching against Tyler Wells. Baltimore opens up as very slight favorites here, minus 115. Total opens up at 8.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we got 5-3 Orioles after 5 innings. Final score is 6-5 Orioles. So like I said, Kikuchi's on the mound, so why don't we start by taking a look at some Baltimore Orioles numbers against left-handed pitching recently. As you can see, this certainly hasn't been anything like the Orioles lineup of last year. 24th in OPS and 23rd in WRC plus in the last 30 days. But that's not really shocking. I mean, we already knew that Baltimore's bats were cold for the last 30 days. And I say were because they seem to have snapped out of it. 5 games in a row where they scored 37 runs. Looks like they came back to life. I declared on YouTube last night, Baltimore bats were back. And they got completely blanked. They were shut out through 8 innings. They ended up scoring 1 run in the 9th inning. They got beat 3-1 by Jose Berrios last night. But even during that little 5-game hot streak they had, they only saw one lefty starter in that time. It was Daniel Lynch. They did grab 8 hits, a walk, and 3 earned runs off him over 6 innings. So a decent performance against Lynch. But now we're talking about Kikuchi, and there's a pattern here. Let's look at Kikuchi's career numbers against the O's, and this team just owns him for real. He's got a lifetime 6.29 ERA and a 6.89 FIP against Baltimore. This man just struggles against this team. Baltimore's already seen Kikuchi once this season. It was on May 19th. And what do you know? He didn't even make it 5 innings. O's got to him early. 3 hits, 4 walks, and 3 earned runs in just 4 2/3 innings pitched. And that game was up in Toronto, where Kikuchi's been a lot better this year. If you take a look at his home away splits, his ERA jumps up from a 3.56 to a 500 on the road. FIP jumps from a 5.15 to a 6.47. Basically, all signs point to Kikuchi struggling in this game against Baltimore. On the other side, we've got Tyler Wells, and the numbers don't lie. This dude's really breaking out as a great starting pitcher in his 3rd season. Look at his numbers through his 7 starts at home this year. 2.49 ERA, 0.81 WHIP. I mean, these are elite numbers. This dude's been absolutely reliable as hell at home. Now, to be fair, he's had relatively easy competition in those 7 home starts. If you take a look at him here, yeah, you got the Angels in there, you got the Pirates, but I think it's when the Pirates bats were cold. You got the Yankees earlier in the season. But other than that, Tyler Wells has had some pretty good luck as far as his opponents in his home starts. Now, these recent Toronto numbers against right-handed pitching, they're not exactly terrifying. But we know this lineup is dangerous, and we know this lineup can hit on the road. Remember, I was just talking about this last night. Toronto, one of the most productive lineups on the road in the last month. So even though 10th and 11th in WRC plus and OPS doesn't exactly look terrifying, I think we can count on the Toronto bats to scrape across at least 2 or 3 on Tyler Wells here. But is that enough to fade the clear-cut pattern of these Orioles bats against Kikuchi? I mean, this is dating back 3 years now. They always crush this dude. So I can't believe I'm going back to Baltimore, but I'm doing it. I'm back on the Orioles. Orioles money line, maybe Orioles team total over. Wow. Orioles team total over after last night's performance is pretty, it's tough to even say. But yeah, I'm going to go back to Baltimore next game. Tampa at Oakland. Taj Bradley pitching against Paul Blackburn. Rays open up as huge favorites here, minus 260. Total opens up at 8.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet and check this out. The model is giving us a lean on Oakland. Oh, how the tides have turned. We're looking at 3-2 A's after 5 innings. Final score, 3-2 A's. Now, this kid Bradley is truly off to a great start in his rookie season. I know his 4.19 ERA and a 1.27 WHIP don't exactly jump off the page. But if you look at that 2.94 FIP, that definitely tells you he's onto something good. And through 8 starts, Bradley has really shined on the road in comparison to his starts at home. Through 4 home starts, Bradley's got a 7.13 ERA and a 1.53 WHIP. But isolated to his 4 starts on the road, you're looking at a 1.71 ERA and a 1.05 WHIP. So you'd think, looking at those splits, that we got to bet on Bradley here in a road start. But hold up, similar to Tyler Wells, we got to look at the opponents, and it kind of explains the numbers. His 4 starts at home: the Rangers, the Blue Jays, the Astros, and the Red Sox. So pretty tough scheduling. While on the road, the Reds, and this is back when the Reds were dead, the Mets, the Cubs, and the Red Sox again when they were in the middle of a slump. So definitely some significantly easier competition in his road starts. I like Bradley, but I just don't know how much we could trust those road numbers, taking into consideration who he's pitched against. And now he's about to pitch against an A's lineup that's suddenly top 10 in ranks against right-handed pitching over the last 2 weeks. I mean, they're smashing guys like Keller, Sandy Alcantara, Eflin, Peralta. I mean, Oakland's cruising right now. On the other side, we got Paul Blackburn pitching. And if you asked me 2 weeks ago, I would say Paul Blackburn's probably the only arm in the Oakland rotation I have any sort of faith in. Actually, I always like James Catt, but I don't know how much faith I truly have in him. He was an all-star last year, and the entire first half of last season, he was dominant. He did fade a little bit in the second half, but still a great season for him. But this is a new season. We're back in the first half of the year, which is where he dominated last year. And through 3 starts this year, he's rocking a 328 FIP, indicating that he's got his stuff working. And now he faces a Rays lineup that's, look, if you look at the numbers over the course of the whole season, yes, they've been dominant against right-handed pitching, but they've been slumping so badly against righties on the road. Look at these numbers. This is the last 30 days. The Rays against right-handed pitching on the road: 21st in WRC+, 22nd in OPS, 24th in average. I truly think Paul Blackburn can pitch himself a good game here at home against a Rays lineup that shouldn't scare you in this spot. Now, when it comes to bullpens, it's kind of the same story with the bullpen numbers that it is with all the other numbers in this matchup. If you use the numbers from the entire season, then yeah, Tampa's bullpen has the clear-cut advantage. But if you look at the last 2 weeks, Oakland's bullpen's been elite somehow, top 10 in all major categories. Rays bullpen has also been producing well too. So both of these teams actually top 10 bullpens over the last 14 days. I don't see any reason to stop betting Oakland right now. So my 2 best angles as of right now: Oakland plus 1.5 at plus 100. Oakland first 5 plus a half run. That's where I'm looking. I'll let you know for sure on the live show tomorrow at 4 p.m. Next game, Phillies at D-backs. Aaron Nola pitching against Ryan Nelson. Phillies open up as minus 130 favorites here. Total opens up at 9. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. And according to the model, we got to lean on the D-backs here. 3-2 Arizona after 5 innings. Final score 6-4 Arizona. To put it bluntly, Aaron Nola is simply not performing at the level that most people expected him to this season. 4.60 ERA and a 4.25 FIP. Those are highly mediocre. Pretty much the worst numbers of his career. One of the worst seasons of his career, I'll say that. He's allowed 4 or more runs in 3 of his last 4 starts, averaging 4.5 earned runs allowed per start. It's really not good. In his last 4 road starts, he's allowing an average of 4.3 earned runs per start. And now he's facing an Arizona lineup that he's always struggled against. I mean, look at this dude's career numbers against Arizona. 4 starts against the D-backs. He's 1-2 with an 8.41 ERA and a 1.67 WHIP. In his lone 2 starts in Arizona, his 2 road starts against the D-backs, he's got a 12.00 ERA and a 2.22 WHIP. Insane. He got rocked both trips to Arizona. The current Arizona bats, get this, they own a lifetime 366 batting average against Aaron Nola, 976 OPS. They average an RBI every 4.5 at bats through their 41 career plate appearances against Nola. And the D-backs bats, yeah, they were slumping a little bit against righties. They fell back to the middle of the pack, but if you isolate the numbers to the last 10 days, Arizona's sitting at 5th in WRC+, 5th in WOBA, 5th in isolated power. So they're back to where they were earlier in the season, producing against right-handed pitching. Looks like all the numbers in this one are pointing towards Aaron Nola having a bad start. On the other side, we got Ryan Nelson, and this looks like such a perfect spot to sell high with this guy. He's coming off a great start against the Detroit Tigers. 5 2/3 innings of shutout baseball. We all know how bad the Tigers lineup has been against right-handed pitching. He did pitch against the Phillies early in the season, and he pitched 6 innings of 1-run baseball. So those 2 facts might have some people thinking Ryan Nelson can shut the Phillies down. I strongly disagree, because now he's set to pitch against them at home. And if you look at his home-away splits, they are night and day, because Ryan Nelson's actually been very good on the road. Well, I should say solid. 3.09 ERA, 300 WOBA, 1.19 WHIP. Those are solid road numbers. But at home at Chase Field, Ryan Nelson's rocking a disgusting 6.62 ERA, 1.67 WHIP, and a 5.65 expected FIP. It only gets worse when you consider the fact that the Phillies regularly start 5 lefties in their lineup. Get this. against left-handed bats at home, Ryan Nelson is posting a 490 WOBA. Holy shit. 2.25 home runs per 9, 219 whip, 796 FIP. I mean, we are beyond Madison Bumgarner numbers here. And remember, we're not talking about the completely dead Phillies lineup that we were seeing a couple weeks ago. The Phillies against righties over the last 10 days, 4th in WRC+, 7th in isolated power, 2nd in WOBA. Philadelphia's been showing some signs of life with the bats. Now, when we get to the second half of the game, both of these bullpens have been struggling. Over the last 10 days, we can see that both the Phillies and the D-backs bullpens are bottom 10 in WOBA and ERA. Arizona's developed a bit of a reputation this season as a team who crushes bullpens. Certainly not going to be scared off by the Phillies' high leverage arms. While the D-backs bullpen has been inconsistent, it's also been prone to a few meltdowns too. So I think the best option for us here is to hit the over, and I actually like this one a lot. Give me the over 9, minus 104 next game. Tigers at Twins. Matthew Boyd pitching against Sonny Gray. Twins open up as minus 195 favorites. Total opens up at 7. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we're looking at 2-0 Twins after 5 innings. Final score 3-0 Twins. So obviously, right off the bat, I don't want to back the Tigers coming off a doubleheader in Detroit yesterday, immediately having to fly to Minnesota to try to hit off Sonny Gray. That just sounds like a nightmare to me. Keep in mind, the Tigers' numbers against right-handed pitching has been pretty terrible. But hold up a sec. They do have Matthew Boyd pitching, and get a load of this guy's home-away splits here. At home in Detroit, he's been next level terrible. 8.46 ERA and a 1.84 whip. That's bad. But if you look at his numbers on the road, a 2.93 ERA and a 0.91 whip, a 3.50 FIP. For some reason, this dude can just deal on the road. In my opinion, betting this game comes down to what your thoughts are on the Twins lineup right now. Because obviously they've been cold, right? Buxton got hurt on June 1st. Then from June 2nd to June 9th, right? So the 7 games after Buxton got hurt, they scored a total of 10 runs. So 10 runs over 7 games. The bats were non-existent. But now, if you look at the 4 games since then, the Twins have scored 26 runs. So they scored 10 runs over a 7-game span after Buxton got hurt. And then in the last 4 since then, 6.5 runs a game, from 1.43 runs a game to 6.5 runs per game. So if you think 4 games is enough of a sample size to back this Twins lineup, then go ahead and bet Minnesota, because I don't think the Tigers are going to score many runs here with Sonny Gray pitching. Personally, I'm going to call the Twins bluff right now. Yeah, they did just beat Milwaukee 4-2 yesterday, but all 4 runs were scored in 1 inning off of Colin Ray. Other than that inning, the offense really wasn't working at all. So where I'm looking here, I'm looking first 5 under 4.5, or I may just stick to the Detroit team total under 3. It's at minus 105. I know it's crazy to take that low of a team total, but it's that low for a reason. Tigers off a doubleheader against Sonny Gray on the road. That's a tough spot. So I'm either going to take first 5 under or Detroit team total under. I'll let you know on the live show. Next game. Rockies at Braves. Kyle Freeland pitching against AJ Smith-Shawver. Atlanta opens up as huge favorite. Surprise, surprise. Minus 250. Total opens up at 8.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. And of course, we got to lean on the Braves. 3-0 Atlanta after 5 innings. Final score 5-0 Atlanta. So like I said, Kyle Freeland's pitching, and he's just been a pillar of inconsistency to this point. Some starts he looks like he's a top 25 pitcher. Other starts he looks like he belongs in the minor leagues. I truly think this is a brutal spot for him here as he heads on the road. Over Kyle Freeland's last 5 starts on the road, he's got a 5.86 ERA, 370 WOBA, 2.6 home runs per 9, and a 693 FIP. I mean, that's downright bad. And on top of that, he's got to go on the road to Atlanta. I mean, have you seen their numbers on the season against left-handed pitching? They murder lefties in Atlanta. On the year, the Braves are 2nd in WRC+, 2nd in isolated power, 1st in average. The last 7 lefty starters to face the Braves combined for an 8.74 ERA, 3.6 home runs per 9, and a 1.71 whip. So you have Kyle Freeland posting a 2.6 home runs per 9 in his last 5 starts on the road. And you have the Braves against the last 7 lefty starters, 3.6 home runs per 9. If you're the type of guy that likes home run props, I would look at some Atlanta Braves options here. Add on the fact that Atlanta's bats have solid career numbers against Kyle Freeland as it is. Through 68 career plate appearances, the Braves are batting .294 with a .922 OPS. All signs point to Kyle Freeland is getting rocked here. On the other side, we got Smith-Shawver, and I mean, obviously his numbers look great. They do. That being said, we watched most of that Washington start, and I'll say he definitely didn't look as impressive as those numbers indicate. I mean, if you look at the numbers, 5 1/3 innings pitched, just 5 base runners, 0 earned runs, I mean, what's not to like about that? But if you watch the game, he definitely wasn't that dominant. I'll say that. The reason we backed Atlanta in that spot is we liked his splits against left-handed bats in the minors. And we could say the same exact thing in this spot against the Rockies, who regularly start 6 lefties in their day-to-day lineup. Well, not regularly, I should say. They start 6 lefties because they have injuries to CJ Cron and who's the other one? Chris Bryant. That's it. Sorry, it took me a few seconds to remember his name. So with 6 lefties in the Rockies lineup and Smith-Shawver having amazing splits against left-handed bats in the minors, I think it's safe to say he should have a good start. And then like we can even pile more onto it. The Rockies versus right-handed pitching on the road in the last 30 days, just 21st in WRC+, 27th in isolated power, 21st in hard hit percentage. So all signs are pointing against Kyle Freeland. I think we could say the opposite on the other side. I think all signs are pointing pointing towards a solid start from rookie Smith-Shawver. And then for some icing on the cake, Atlanta just has a huge bullpen advantage as well. Shocker. The Braves are a lot better than the Rockies. Yeah, I'm really giving you some deep insider info here. The Braves, you can see over the last 2 weeks, Braves are top 5 in ERA, WOBA, and expected FIP. So I like the Braves all the way here, with the Rockies bullpen being bottom 12 in all those categories. So whether you want to go Braves -1.5, maybe a Braves double result, let's see what the line does. But I'll be playing Atlanta in some capacity here. I'll let you know on the live show. Next game, Angels at Rangers here. We got an awesome pitching matchup in this one. Ohtani versus Eovaldi. Angels open up as very slight favorites, -115, and the total opens up at 8. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. And according to the model, we got to lean on Texas. 4-3 Rangers after 5 innings. Final score 6-4 Rangers. Obviously, we all know Shohei Ohtani's an absolute monster, but I kind of like Eovaldi in this spot. Through their first 5 starts of the season, Ohtani was looking like the Cy Young, the clear-cut Cy Young, while Eovaldi was struggling to find his groove with his new team. Look at these two pitchers' numbers through their first 5 starts, right? Ohtani had an 0.64 ERA, 0.82 WHIP, 249 FIP, absolutely elite Cy Young numbers, while Eovaldi had a 5.20 ERA, 141 WHIP, and an impressive 216 FIP, indicating he was having some bad luck. But no question, Ohtani was way more dominant, or had the way more dominant numbers through 5 starts into the season. But now let's fast forward and take a look at these two pitchers' last 8 starts, and the tables have turned. Ohtani's posted a 4.88 ERA, 3.22 WOBA, 2.1 home runs per 9, 5.15 FIP. Those aren't great. I mean, obviously it's a small 8 starts. We know Ohtani's going to bounce back, but those are not the greatest numbers. While Eovaldi has been an absolute madman. A 1.22 ERA, 2.15 WOBA, 2.84 FIP through an 8-start sample size. That's insane. He's been absolutely dominant. And now we add on the fact that this is actually a tough spot for Shohei. Ohtani's worst splits on the season are on the road against lefties. In his last 3 road starts, look at these numbers against left-handed bats. 4.31 WOBA, 6 home runs per 9, 6. Not 0.6, 6. And a 9.83 FIP. Those are terrible. That's a little alarming when he's facing a Rangers lineup that not only starts 6 left-handed bats, but has been the best home offense in baseball against righties this year. In Ohtani's 4 career road starts at Texas, he's got a 5.66 ERA, and none of those previous Rangers offense even come close to the production of this Rangers offense. And Eovaldi is just a wagon, like I said. He's also got great career numbers against the Angels, just a 669 OPS. In his last 2 starts against the Angels, Eovaldi's thrown 13 shutout innings. That being said, this is definitely not an easy spot for him. I don't care about those 13 shutout innings because the Angels are first in WRC+, isolated power, and WOBA against right-handed pitching in the last 14 days. The last 6 righty starters to face the Angels, 28 and 2/3 innings, 6.28 ERA, and a 2.51 home runs per 9. Another game where we could see some long balls. Obviously, when you're dealing with a dominant pitching matchup like this, there's always going to be a bit of a coin flip aspect, but I think there's more angles to support the Rangers and Eovaldi than there is to support Ohtani and the Angels. That being said, one of the few angles that does support the Angels is the bullpen. LA definitely has the pretty clear bullpen advantage. If you take a look at the numbers, on the last 2 weeks, Angels are 2nd in ERA, 8th in WOBA. Meanwhile, Texas is back at 20th in ERA, 11th in WOBA. So bullpen advantage would go to the Angels, but other than that, I think there's more angles, like I said, pointing towards Texas. So I think the best decision here is to just flat out back Eovaldi. Looking Rangers first 5 money line at -118. Possibly a first 5 over 4.5. You know the public's going to come in heavy on the under with these 2 starting pitchers, so I might also do that, but I think my favorite bet as of right now, Rangers first 5 money line -118 next game. Pirates at Cubs, Rich Hill pitching against Marcus Stroman. There's actually no line open for this game. I don't know why. So I'm going to skip it. I'll give out a bet for this one on the live show at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Next game. Nationals at Astros. Mackenzie Gore pitching against Christian Javier. Houston opens up as -235 favorites. Total opens up at 9. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. And we got a heavy lean on the Astros here. 5-1 Houston after 5 innings. Final score 8-3 Houston. Well, Mackenzie Gore's pitching, so why don't we start out by looking at some Houston recent numbers against left-handed pitching because they're just insane. They've completely caught fire, the Astros, against lefties. The last 14 days, second in OPS, first in WRC+. And these numbers are through 130 plate appearances. So they've had 130 plate appearances against lefties in the last 14 days. So it's a decent sample size. When you're dealing with lefty pitching, not so much righties, but we're dealing with lefty pitching, looking at those numbers, you should always check the plate appearances because sometimes you'll look at the last 14 days and be like, this team is killing lefties. And then you look and it's like 41 plate appearances. Sometimes teams can go a couple weeks without seeing a left-handed starter. That being said, not the case here. 130 plate appearances for Houston. Look at the last 3 lefty starters to pitch against the Astros. All 3 got rocked. Logan Allen, 5 runs. Patrick Sandoval, 6 runs. Reed Detmer, 4 runs. Lefties are not trying to pitch against this Houston lineup right now. And it's not just against lefties. Look at Houston's offensive numbers at home over the last 30 days. 3rd in OPS, 4th in WRC+. I know not having Yordan Alvarez in the lineup is a concern for a lot of people, but Houston's averaged over 5 runs a game since he got hurt also. I trust this Astros lineup. And then we take a look at Mackenzie Gore's stuff, and his production has definitely dipped. If you look at the comparison between his first 8 starts and his last 5 starts, his ERA's up almost 2 runs, FIP's up about 1.5 runs. Keep in mind, the Nationals are now 0-8 in Mackenzie Gore's last 8 starts and 1-10 in his last 11 starts. Now, all of that's not his fault. To be fair, the bullpen's responsible for a few of those losses. Like 3 or 4 of them actually. But betting Washington, the point is, betting Washington in Mackenzie Gore starts has not been working out recently. Now, on the other side, we got Christian Javier, and I know Javier did not look great in his last start. But look at his numbers at home on the season. I mean, how can you argue with these numbers? 4-1 with a 2.67 ERA, a 1.10 WHIP, and a 3.07 FIP. I know not everyone is the biggest Christian Javier fan, but that's clear-cut starting pitcher 1 production right there at home. And look who he's pitching against. Granted, these are just from the last 7 days, but look at Washington's lineup against right-handed pitching in the last 7 days. The bats are gone. 36 WRC+. In case you're unfamiliar with that metric, what that means is the Washington Nationals in the last 7 days are producing at a 64% rate less than the average MLB team. 100 is exactly average. So a 36 means they're producing 64% less than the average team. We cashed a solid amount of bets on Washington a couple weeks back. Remember, they were hot, they were hitting. It was awesome. We made some good money, but it's important when you're betting on a bad team that's hot to check the numbers every few days, if not every day, because when you're dealing with a team like that, as fast as they got hot, they can go ice cold just as fast. I think Washington, I said it yesterday, I think Washington might be the worst team in baseball right now. So I'm fading the Nats. Give me Astros -1.5, -115 next game. Guardians at Padres, Logan Allen. Update. So we had a pitching change in this one mid-edit. I wrote all my notes out, and you'll see I recorded the whole thing about expecting Yu Darvish to be the pitcher for the Padres. Looks like it might be Ryan Weathers now, so I'll leave it in there, and you can watch it in case Yu Darvish does pitch, but you can basically toss everything I say about Yu Darvish because it doesn't look like he's going to pitch. So the Padres definitely haven't been known as a dangerous lineup against left-handed pitching on the season. That being said, look at these numbers over the last 30 days. I mean, these aren't Dodgers or Astros numbers, but 8th in WRC+, 11th in OPS. Those are solid for the San Diego lineup against left-handed pitching. Check this out, though. Look what happens when I change the numbers from the last 30 days to the last 10 days. Padres jump all the way up to 2nd in every single offensive category. Here's the kicker, and I was just talking about this before. Only 66 plate appearances against lefties in that 10-day sample size. So a bit of a small sample size there, but still, I don't know if you can say this Padres lineup struggles against lefties. That was last month's trend. Padres seem to be hitting everybody right now. Next, let's take a look at Logan Allen stuff, and these are his home away splits. 4.50 ERA and a 4.28 WHIP at home. Okay, I can fade that. The problem is this game's in San Diego, and look at this dude's road numbers. Granted, he's only made 4 road starts on the season, so not the hugest sample size, but a 1.90 ERA and a 2.43 FIP. Those are dominant numbers on the road for Logan Allen. But here's the catch. Look who he's pitched against in those 4 road starts. The Twins, the Orioles, the White Sox, and the Red Sox. So props to him for putting up those dominant numbers. It's still an accomplishment. But I'm not sold enough to think he'll shut down a suddenly red-hot Padres lineup. On the other side, we got Yu Darvish throwing, and if there's one guy in one spot that I never even have to look at the numbers, it's Yu Darvish at home in San Diego. Always reliable, dating back multiple seasons. I mean, here are his numbers here, but I don't even look at it anymore because I just know he's dominant at home. 2.68 ERA, 1.03 WHIP. You can always count on Yu Darvish to deal in San Diego. I know the Guardians lineup has been hot. We've cashed several bets on the back of that Cleveland lineup, but the Padres are a train I just don't want to step in front of right now. So as of right now, I'll let you know a final bet on the live show, but as of right now, I'm thinking Padres -1.5. Yes, even at home. Last game, White Sox at Dodgers. Dylan Cease pitching against Michael Grove. LA opens up as a -155 favorite. Total opens up at 8. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. We're looking at a 3-3 tie after 5 innings. Final score 5-4. I'm most likely going right back to Dodgers -1.5. It's at +138. I know they didn't look sharp for a large portion of last night's game. But Dylan Cease is a fade for me. He had such a great season, but all those numbers, the FIP numbers, the expected FIP, expected ERA, they all indicate that he was the luckiest pitcher in baseball last year. Fading him has been a profitable decision this season, so I'm going to stick with it. I know Michael Grove is concerning, but it's a righty against the White Sox. White Sox have had one of the worst lineups against righties this whole season. Dodgers -1.5. Like I said, live stream 4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. We'll go through all the games. We'll go through the line movement. We'll all give our final picks like we always do. If you're able to make it, hope to see you in the comments. If anything changes with any of the bets I gave out in this video, I'll let you know on Twitter, so give me a follow there if you're interested. And if you want the final bets we give out, which has every single bet we're making and how much on each, top bets, parlay of the day, that kind of stuff, if you're interested in that, head over to KyleKirms.com.